Thank you so much. So good afternoon, everybody. I think this is a very lovely session to be in, which is a slumber session is what I like to call it. And to get some kind of a lovely break from the slumber session, I think we're going to start with something really fun. They said the topic is AI, digital, which is marrying with human emotions. So I think I've had a lot of laugh riots when I've sent in some prompts and AI just had its own brain and it gave out something very, very weird. So can I hear from some of you guys on something that you sent to AI and you asked it to do and it left you laughing for the next few days?
I think I would like to share one incident. This is a recent one. So where I was using Meta AI and I had written a short article in English, wanted it to be translated in Hindi, like written in Hindi. Okay, and it gave me a fair answer. The very next day, I tried to do the same thing. It was more like a quote and not a complete article. So Meta tells me that I would not be able to help you with Hindi. Sorry, I'm still working on and improving and all that. So then I write back to Meta saying, just yesterday you had helped me with the same translation in Hindi. It's like, oh, oops, let me do it. And it does it. So it's like a very funny incident for me that I have to remind AI that yes, you know it, and then you can do it for me right now.
Hi everybody, I'm Amar from CRED. So we were creating a project on on-call resolution. We did give AI all the inputs on what this project is, how it should go, everything. One key mistake was we did mention it as OCR, then on-call resolution. So it created a beautiful document. We circulated everywhere. All the leadership had that access to that document. Instead of on-call resolution, everywhere it did mention optical character recognition. The document is about on-call resolution for CX, and OCR stands for optical character recognition. So this was quite embarrassing, that too after publishing the project document.
And you have nothing to do with optical, do you? Or character or recognition at CRED?
Actually had a word with my technology head as well. He approached me asking what help you need with optical character recognition, I can help you with.
So great, and anytime you want to help us out at Titan I+, most welcome with your optical character recognition skills. So yeah, do we have one more story that, yeah, please.
Okay, so I'm Arvind, I'm from Diageo. A less known brand, but if I say Johnny Walker, I'm sure all of you know it. So that's the company I come from. This happened about a year and a half, and ChatGPT was just about scaling up. So I was in my rogue moment on a weekend and just said, hey, tell me how does a robo in love feel? Just a simple question to it. And then ChatGPT gave me a nice answer. It said, it feels like a special electricity that flows through it, but I'm not really sure if it is short circuit. That's when I realized ChatGPT has a long way to go before it can talk about love and feelings. But yeah, that was the start.
So I think Arvind will short circuit into the panel discussion of today with these really, really lovely people who've put in a lot of thought into what goes in it, and hope all of you really enjoy this discussion. So Wasim, we'll start with you. Right, and at Royal Brothers, how do you prioritize and how do you, call out in minimal, sleek digital experiences, what are certain emotions we look for and how do we position them right and how do we proactively ensure the customers find it?
See, this entire thing has to be with the design. If we want to be in a position where we want to make sure that we are proactively looking into what customers are looking at right now and what we do to preserve that, how AI helps us in this is that the live overall information which is there, we can always look at those information and AI processes those information because those informations are unstructured. And to make sure, let's say there is a customer who's facing some kind of problem, we have to design it in a way where just basic informations are, customers are able to, the overall AI is able to guide the customer with micro informations. That is the first thing. And most of the time when the customers are frustrated, what they do is they want to connect with an agent. So we have to strategically also make sure that where we are placing and how we are placing the agent connection from the AI to the customer. When AI is able to sense when the customer is frustrated, so we have to make sure when the situation is getting escalated, or customer is not happy with the response from the AI is smart enough to connect it to the agent. Because agent will be able to, sometimes when the customers are frustrated, they feel that an AI and a bot will not be able to understand what I am feeling. At that point of time, strategic human touch is very, very much important, and it is very much required. That's what we do, even in our bot or in our IVRs. What we do at our end is that wherever there is a customer going through a flow and finds it difficult or is not able to understand, we immediately reroute them to the agent. And agents are trained enough to understand and empathize, because the whole information is already available with them in the transcript. And the same way it happens on the call side also. And if you take social medias, there are definitely softwares available which gives us the insights on what customers are feeling across, what are their sentiments, even based on a comment also. If there is a comment posted by any customer, it gives us the analysis on the comment. But sometimes even they do mistakes. That's where a human agent has to be there to analyze if this comment which is posted by the customer is actually a negative or actually a positive. That's where they have to manually mark sometimes and update it. Because if we don't re-verify also in some cases, what we do is, if we completely rely on the AI, we basically sometimes make mistakes, because AI does make mistakes. And that gives us a wrong insightful information on which we will build our entire customer experience or customer journey. So that is where we feel is that the agent has to be involved at some point, and a strategic point to sometimes re-verify. If the system is working fine, then we can go ahead with it. But initially, always we have to, whatever we are implementing, we have to check if it is properly working or not, if it is exactly what we were expecting from our end. That's what I would say that we have to focus on.
Thank you, Wasim. That's a lovely context that you have set. I think I will pick up what you said there. I mean, we can have AI, and AI has to be intelligent enough to call in for the agent in that space. So I think in some manner, you're saying that this cognitive response behavior has to be inbuilt in AI, right? So I think, Amar, I will then position this to you. So could you tell me what are certain things that you think an AI bot is able to today relieve a human agent from? Are there any kind of information overload, or, I mean, let's face it, if there is an agent who's actually working on a kind of a problem solution, he's going to be needing both his right and left brain to work in tandem and at super fast speed. So how do you think AI is helping us do that today?
First and foremost, we are all humans. AI doesn't buy our product, right? So when you have humans buying product or services, and there is a bad experience, as a human nature, the very first thing we need is express it, right? Any bad experience. Stuck in traffic, we reach office, at least to two people we will say that, "Arey yaar, bahut bheed tha," right? So this is natural human tendency, right? Now, AI, like every other technology which has evolved, can add value to this conversation when a customer is interacting with your brand through whatever channel or for whatever reason. When there is an interaction happening, often contact center agents or front office agents, they are forced to put the customer on hold, make him wait, while they are trying to process all the cognitive load, right? Today, businesses are very different. They are built around a vast variety of data. An agent is put in place with hundreds of attributes to look at and come up with an answer, right? AI should not essentially be replacing, it shouldn't essentially be replacing that interaction in itself. There should be a human when the customer is facing a bad experience. But what AI can do is smoothen that experience. Let the cognitive load be absorbed by the AI. Customer is asking a precise question about a delay in the delivery of an order, for example, right? what is the order about, when it is supposed to be delivered, and what is the next best action that the agent should take. Let AI suggest. Let the agent converse with the customer, build that rapport, calm him down, make him understand that the brand is always listening to the hurdles. Right now, it can also kind of add value when it comes to sensing the emotions and sentiments, right, to a large extent. We have seen that, over these conversations, the customer sentiments rapidly evolve, right? Probably an irate customer may be happy at the end of the conversation. A happy customer might be quite irate and blow it up on social media, right? We see this happening often. So these traits can be precisely picked up by AI. When these traits are precisely picked up by AI, it can give a red flag wherever the conversation is going out of hand, right? That can suggest how to handle, how to control that particular conversation from escalating further. So this is I believe that AI supporting human, right, build experience from a brand perspective is the utmost usefulness of artificial intelligence today.
That is very well articulated, Amar. I think that actually intrigues me to think that, there are so many human emotions that we go through, right? I mean, if you actually go to a therapist, he'll be probably in a better place to say, please state your emotion in the correct state, right? And when we struggle to talk about our emotions ourselves, I think I would park it with Udbhav. And give us something from Fresh Buzz, wherein, there is a varied variety and a colorful rainbow of emotions that we have in human beings. And a customer not just comes in with just a need satisfaction type of an emotion, they come in with the entire baggage of which person did I fight with, who elated me, who depressed me, what did the auto guy not give me back my chiller. All of that is coming inside the store when they come in, or even in the digital transactions that they have, right? So what do you think? How should AI today actually capture these entire plethora of emotions and be a little bit more cognitive towards whatever we're actually talking about?
Yeah, sure, Kalyani. Thanks. I think emotional variability in consumer experience is of pivotal role. I mean, from the point of view of, when there is a consumer transaction, it could be a customer buying a Fresh Bus ticket to a customer actually traveling with us, largely for a brand to have a lasting impact. It's all about how an organization is able to manage consumer emotions across that transaction. And to effectively do something as tricky as that, and the reason I call it tricky is because we as humans fail to manage emotions, right? So expecting a model as advanced as it may be, it's not fair, right? So I think we have to start with understanding what are the capability sets, what are the tool capabilities that you have at hand. Right. So if you look at the present gradient of capabilities, AI capabilities, largely you'll have sentiment analysis, which is basically categorizing consumer text and voice in a polarized form of positive, negative, and neutral, fairly widely used and fairly successfully implemented because it's straightforward and simple to classify emotions as good or positive or negative. The tricky part is engaging the exact emotion. And if you look at the human emotion spectrum, I think there are, I think the infinite combinations of emotions that as we humans can display, right? So emotion recognition as a capability is still, I think still something which is really work in progress. So, I can talk about what we do at FreshBus today. So one of the key things that we do is before even we acquire the customer, it's really important for us to gauge consumer disengagement over our platform by understanding how much time they're spending with us, what kind of cursor placements they have. Are they randomly scrolling and then they're just dropping off the funnel? So I think understanding consumer engagement through through certain indicators would be a good starting point, right? But that said, I think there are multiple areas where we are still working on. I mean, from the point of capturing micro impressions. So, often when we interact with a brand or interact as humans, we might, try to put across a very, professional conduct, or, maybe carry a certain character with us. But as humans, we do have micro emotions, and that could be, a smirk, that could be a pause, that could be a shock, and that could be, maybe just an ignore, just like a dead response from the speaker, from the listener. So I think micro emotions is something that's still a deep work in progress. But I think the only way we as humans can do it at scale is through AI. And I mean, I recently came across this quote, and I really found it very intriguing. Is that gone are the days where emotional intelligence would remain just a soft skill. I think we are venturing into an area where emotional intelligence would be a data set from which LLM model will learn, recognize, detect emotion, and reproduce emotion for us to consume. Right, so it's a very gray area and very exciting space. I think we are looking at exponential gains from here. I mean, from a marketing CX point of view, we've been always curious, inquisitive about how can we create customer cohorts so that we can talk to them in what matters to them the most. So basically personalizing the context for them. But I think AI can help us hyper-personalize those interactions to not a cohort level, but an individual level. That said, we have recently implemented something called as Echo at FreshBus, which helps us real-time map consumer interactions while the customers are on customer calls, and raise flags whenever the sentiments go negative, or below certain level of, let's say, 0 to 100, flag it at 40. I think these real-time interventions could act as solid early warning radar systems, and eventually we can use these emotional signals to create opportunities of triage. I mean, there's something going wrong and the system is able to detect it. What we do after that to recover the experience is really important, and to do it at scale, you can't do it without AI, right? I think that said, there's significant, and I mean, the serious risks also that AI possess at this point in time, specifically with respect to, I'll say, the nuance understanding. I think what AI is still struggling with is understanding human sarcasm. Right. So, I mean, if you were to, if a customer were to say, great product, another time you made me call, right? So AI is not going to recognize is that as sarcasm, probably a compliment, right? So I think there are serious, lapses, especially around emotional understanding, and more so around cultural understanding of, how a certain, geographical population would like to communicate versus someone sitting in the Western countries to India. I think that said, one of the serious, risk areas could be actually dehumanizing the conversations. So, I, for one, have started to experience it in person, where I'm just not sure if I'm talking to a human or an AI. Right, and the person across might as well be a human just giving scripted responses, but it's kind of disconnecting the customer with a brand. Eventually, coming to a point where maybe AI is going to give a technically empathetic answer, which is going to feel hollow to us humans, right? So I think that's one area which seriously needs to be avoided, because I think over leveraging our emotions, right, on AI is one place we don't want to be. But I think that said, there are certain non-negotiables, and for me, one of the non-negotiables is how do we use AI capabilities in emotional recognition to a certain governance framework, to put it under a certain governance framework. And I think we're not far from a point where a customer call in distress would be a business opportunity for someone to charge a premium, right? And I think that's a place where we should not be as humans. Yeah, thanks.
So I think Udbhav very, very wonderfully covered in a lovely manner. I think from travel to technology, I'm going to move to Latha to, Udbhav touched up on something really, really interesting for me. I mean, he spoke about non-negotiables when it comes to emotions and AI, right? There are a lot of sentiments and there are a lot of do's and don'ts. There are also a lot of ifs and buts that we're also thinking, practically from the positions that each one of us sitting in this panel holds, right? Can I do this? Can I be this intrusive? Can I be this okay with it? So from a perspective of Dell and from your experience, what are certain non-negotiables you think AI versus emotions should be maintained by the industries? And are there any kind of potential risks that we should be very, very aware of while we do them?
Hey, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. So the question she's asked me is non-negotiables. What are the non-negotiables in an AI-powered system? So first one, right, is ethical AI models. It's extremely important that all our models, all our work is truly based on ethical models. And the second important thing I think is understanding and connecting with the customer in a very unbiased and fair manner, right? So data is all over the place, structured, unstructured, dynamic, whatnot, right? So we get all kinds of data from all kinds of channels. How do we develop models and extract information in a very unbiased and fair manner, right? And connect with the customers at that level. Very important and non-negotiable, especially in product companies like Dell. The third one is proactive customer support, right? Yes, there is information, we put out data, we put out products. How do we understand and analyze our customer trends, industry data and issues? How do we proactively support our customers? So many places, I think some of the failure points would be reacting to an issue or reacting to a need. But if you get ahead of the curve and be proactive, I think that's going to be a significant game changer as far as the non-negotiables go. And last but not the least, on the non-negotiables is continual improvement, right? So constant feedback, continual important, extremely important for any organization, industry, anybody that's want a good customer experience. Active listening. What are our customers telling us? What is our data telling us? How can we improve? We always have to have huge ears and eyes for continual improvement. So these are, I think, some of the basic non-negotiables. Take care of your customers in a very neat, clean, and ethical way, and the rest will just follow, okay? So that's, to me, basics and non-negotiables. At the same time, what are the risks our industry faces? So many startups, scale-ups, companies, projects, initiatives. But look at the success rate of them, right? Is it telling a great story? Not necessarily there. So what are the risks? What are some of them doing which the others are not doing and making the edge, right? Or crossing the line there to say success or stability or scalability. So we have, like I said, lot of data around. Sometimes taking biased outcomes or outcomes in the opposite direction based on flawed data or wrong algorithms, right? So we have to watch out for a very clean end-to-end customer journey. We need to have our roadmaps and customer journeys laid out end-to-end very well, like articulated very well, and watch out for flawed data and are there issues with the algorithms and whatnot, right? So first is basically biasing, I would say, is a huge risk where you manage your data very well to eliminate a big part of it. The second one, which people are not talking about, and it's somewhere in each and every one of our minds in this room, is job displacement, right? So there's a lot of automation, a lot of modeling that's replacing human jobs. So that's another risk, not particularly for anyone, but the industry is facing job displacement. So as leaders, as organizations, as an industry, how are we managing? How are we balancing? How are we reskilling? How are we redeploying? How are we still managing the organization very effectively? We are all changing wheels while we are driving the car. How many of you agree with that, right? We're all trying to change the wheels while we drive the car. So how do we do this efficiently? That's another big risk where companies are like struggling and pulling through, having consultants, whatnot. Of course, privacy violations, cyber security issues, data, right? So when we are dealing with AI and everything, there's a lot of data out there. There's a huge threat and risk to misuse of this data and vulnerabilities into your system and violation of privacy policies and all of that. So as an organization, this goes back to my first point. Everything that you do should be end-to-end ethical, right? Ethical from legit sources and everything, okay? The last point really as a risk is, or what organizations are struggling with, I would say, is personalization at scale, right? So when we are a startup, when we are a small company, when the project is in its baby phase, we know what exactly to do with that scale of a project. Then we put out, we say the pilot, the customers start consuming it, they give you feedback, and hooray, we've got few customers in our pockets, good clients, big clients. Now, how do you just go and put that in the public market there? How do you just make it in the public domain? So the scalability, when the scalability happens, sustainability and scalability, the personalization is lost, right? And so that's where these projects stagnate and they get killed and whatnot. So personalization at scale, I think, is an important risk that we all face and need to really pay good attention to.
So I think Latha very beautifully called out. I mean, there are potential risks, and most importantly, and in fact I resonated most because of where I come from, how do you be ethical to your customers while acknowledging their emotions, and while acknowledging, an emotion is supposed to be a very, very personal space, right? And when you actually see this, and in fact, I'm going to position this with Rahul. Rahul, I would want you to tell me, I mean, we do a lot of, balancing act, if I have to say, when we have to be ethical, correct, and morally okay for the customers, while ensuring that we're doing, in the fast increasing consumer base where everyone wants to try everything that is there out there, and there's a lot of FOMO sitting in what other brands and offerings do I not know of. So how do we do this balancing act of personalization at scale for customers to know we're there for you, and we're useful for you, and at the same time, make them feel a little safe about their emotions not being encroached, or maybe make them feel that we are being ethically treated?
No, I think you're right. It is one of the most important questions which is going around these days is privacy, right? When you're talking to chat GPTs, On day 3, it starts interpreting you even better than what it had interpreted you on day 0. And it does mark the question of privacy. But anyways, I think one of the most important, in my experience, what I've always seen is the challenge about India. It's so diverse. I've never seen a country like us anywhere else, right? So there's no one size fits all in terms of how you want to kind of set up a communication strategy. It is somewhere I tell my team as well, it's kind of a nightmare to kind of, bring one communication that hits everyone, especially with the way social media is going on right now. You never know what can offend anyone at any point in time. Just to give you a very real example and how AI came into picture during that point of time is, we were doing this very small research across states. Something which is very peculiar that came up during that point of time. There's just 2 states, which is one is Punjab. I'm sorry, no offense here. This is just a market research here. One is Punjab, and then there is Tamil Nadu. Now, while most of the other geographies behaved in certain pattern, there are this very strong state love for these 2 states, which has come up, right? So then I said, okay, fine. Let's use, so that was one, obviously research. We use, okay, let's understand using ChatGPT about these 2 markets. How do we do it? We obviously have a very strong sales team at the back. They've been making calls every year, every day, every minute. So you've got like this tons of data that is coming up from them. Then we are listening to our social media handles as well. So there's a lot of chatters which is happening in these 2 states as well. So we started aggregating all of that. All of these are unstructured data by all means, but we started aggregating all of that data into one place and started interpreting how are these 2 states different. Now, one very interesting fact came up is that when it comes to Punjab, they like everything which is very bold. It has to be very promising, bold, meaning their entire ambition, especially I've come from an edtech, right? So it's been so many years of doing edtech. Their ambitions is always from a tier 3 city to wanting to be in Google. Fairly clear, but very bold, give me hard promises. When it comes to Chennai, it was very respect. You need to get my respect. A brand has to get my respect. You need to speak in my language. And firstly, I think you need to love my biryani. That was one of the things which came up very strongly as well. They love their biryanis for some reason. But I think the last most important was their aspirations was a company like probably Zoho, which is very, very regional, right? I think they do not want to leave the city. They do not want to. So if there's any brand who can speak in that manner, I think that's fascinating for them. So we kind of accumulated all of this data using ChatGPT, AI, and started feeding in these emotions. What came out was a very different level of communication pegs for different geographies as well. Fascinating in terms of when we kind of pushed it across through our Google, your Facebook campaigns as well. The performance of those campaigns, there was immediate result. I'll not say it took right from day 0 to kind of solve it, but in 3 months, our conversation with our consumers started improvising. And we started getting into a better conversation. They were able to relate to us much better. The kind of persona that we were trying to attract had improved as well. So in some manner, I think AI played a very good role because one of the biggest reasons why AI did what it did was, firstly, I think it was trying to learn emotions, but I think they were able to kind of look at it from a very ground zero level. No biasness towards any geography. AI is not Indian, AI is not Maharashtrian, AI is not a Kannadiga guy, right? So AI was very neutral in all of that. So it kind of interpreted those emotions and started feeding us in terms of what I can take from those campaigns as well. So I think that's solved in terms of how we kind of, and then we were able to scale this. We were able to scale this at multiple levels, and today's Scaler is where it is. But I think to a question of, in terms of ethics, well, yeah, I think there are a lot of regulations that needs to be kept in mind as we scale. Today, I feel it's not there. It's not structured enough. People are, And we are at the borderline of kind of probably kind of going on the other side of giving, crossing your privacy as well. And I hope every state, including us as a country as well, we build up a very strong regulations in terms of what can be shared and what cannot be and what level of data it looks intrusive. Today, AI, for us, it's not intrusive because we are doing our own search. It's just with us. I'm not sharing my data anywhere. But it's just a matter of time. You know, it kind of go out as well and start sharing your data across the brands, across many other sectors as well. So I think as a nation, we need to kind of build that regulations in place. I personally know there are some states, like Rajasthan and few other states, where I've been personally interacting with. They are pretty actively wanting to have these regulations in place, stricter regulations in place, before they expand the entire AI piece. So hopefully, I think with that said, sooner than later, we will have much tighter regulations, which kind of does not cross the borderline of ethics in there. So yeah, I think that's my two bits.
That's a fabulously interesting case study that you've done with understanding customers of certain states and how they would respond and utilization of, I think, emotion at its best. But what was key is we've got, you know, wonderful brains like you monitoring the humanness and understanding what of it can I consume and what of it can't I consume, and, you know, cleverly talk to the customers and respond in the right way. I think that kind of it came out in a very, very beautiful, balancial way of all three segments that we're talking here. On that note, Arvind, I would like to understand from you specifically. I think Rahul spoke about, you know, how he was able to connect with two different geographies, right? So when it comes to customer segmentation, are there any specific you know, use cases, or are there any specific understanding that you think AI is able to bring in? While personalization at scale can be wonderfully done, how do we segment and forecast? And Rahul did touch upon a little bit on the, you know, governance policies and you know, what kind of guardrails do we have and when we work in this particular space?
Yeah, I think it's a good build-up on what we've been discussing now. Mostly when we talk about data and AI, I mean, you know, the way we look at it, and we are constrained. I come from an industry which is alcobev, where we don't have e-commerce. So we don't have end-user consumers. And to give you the scale of difference that we deal with, even today, Excel is good enough for us to run some of our models. Very basic regression models that we run on Excels. And we then go to a dashboard only for second-level social media listening and all that. So therefore, what that means is the data that you have access to will decide on how much of segmentation can you actually do. And for us, therefore, at an aggregate level, you know, how do we ensure that we use the data that we have, which is at an aggregate level and not an individual consumer level, to still crack through to get to very specific consumer segments. And that's a very interesting challenge that we have. Just to contrast it, I mean, I'll just quote this instance. I'm sure most of you know this game called AlphaGo. It's one of the board games that's much more complex than chess. It runs into billions of permutations and combinations. A few years ago, one of the world's best Go players, #1 Go player, he played with this machine, and the machine played a game which nobody anticipated. Even the best of Go players thought, that's a very irrational move, and the machine won after that move. So it's because sheer pattern recognition, right? AI is wonderful when you give it the database and it runs on it, and it in a flash gives you what it wants. The challenge becomes the moment you don't have that diversity of data, that depth of data, which is what we are dealt with. So what we do today, and this is a pilot that we are running with at Diageo, is to go for an omni-channel journey mapping of the consumer, pick up all the touch points that the consumer is in when he's in the shop, or when he is watching his social media feed, or when he is, let's say, in a movie theater, or when he's actually in an on-premise having a consumption occasion, right? Everything is a potential data capture for us. And then what we then do is to say, what are those moments when he's at a particular, let's say he goes on to his social media and he's watching a particular ad, or he's doing a bit of a commenting and all that. How do you aggregate all of that to get to a bit of a sentiment? Which is the point I think both Wasim and I think Udbhav also made a point, right? Those micro occasions you pick up and create a bit of a sentiment mapping there. And based on that, you then start modeling and saying, oh, my aggregate consumer cohort is defined by youngsters in this age group, in this geography, to the point, you know, one of the other panelists made, and then go after them in a very concerted effort. So that kind of a data aggregation means a lot of human intervention is naturally there. You know, we don't rely on AI directly. This is a pilot that's still running on. back and forth, we keep going to the AI and asking a set of questions saying, if you read all these sentiments, then what is your take of this? So that, we also know it's learning the right way. So it's a very iterative process, simply because the data depth is not so great as some of the other, the CREDs of the world have access to. But that's very interesting. The one watch out, therefore, from, I think ethics is a big point. It's already there. One of the big things is Europe, I think, is already ahead in terms of monitoring AI. I think they have got out rules and all that. US is still behind. But very soon, we will have very stringent regulations on how AI cannot be manipulative, how ethical it has to be. I think Latha made a great point. So all of that is coming through. So that is something that we're watching out. So whenever we put out any of this, the first thing we write is it's an AI-generated model output. So that everybody knows that there is some amount of, you have to take it with a pinch of salt if you need to, right? So these are the guardrails that we use. But having said that, it's great fun to work with limited data sets and on AI. You can challenge AI and be good fun.
I think your robo-love did definitely tell us that you did challenge AI. But I think, Arvind, fabulous point when you made in terms of, how you can segment the customers in terms of so much of data integrations and things that you can take. And what it takes me to this one particular brand, and incidentally, we have someone from the band who will help us analyze. If someone's hunting for a house in Bangalore, my mouth answers no broker ja. And that's literally what we've been doing for years now. I think I've been here for 8 years, and it's been I think I scroll on No Broker more than I scroll on Insta. That's how it's become for me. But coming to No Broker, I mean, it's a high emotional space, right? Whether you're renting or you're buying, it's a very high emotional space that we have in terms of business. And it's also a very volatile space that we do. So how do you prioritize your data for your customers? How do you ensure that what they are anticipating to find in the website is exactly where it's supposed to be? Vegetarian chahiye, I don't want somebody who's not married, and all of those information is just up front and center. I know what the house owner is looking for right there, right? So how do you prioritize that?
Very good question. Very close to me, in fact, because at No Broker, being the prop tech company, the platform itself is C2C. Okay, and imagine utilizing, and not a B2B, B2C, it is C2C. So where it is the owners and the sellers who come on our platform, list their properties, and then in turn seek the demand, right? And this is what customers see as a, interface, as a front end. But at the back end, I think I would say we are one of the most early users of AI and data innovations, because as Kalyani just mentioned, there's a lot that goes behind, okay? And the base itself is trust there, okay? Because our name itself says No Broker, so we're trying to eliminate the brokerage part in between. And that makes it very, very important for us to ensure that, there's no middleman involved. So there's a lot of data crunching that happens there. It's, in fact, it's very dynamic, both for seeker as well as the owners and buyers. So for seekers, I think there's a lot of data crunching that happens in terms of, what images that you see in the product. So today's consumer, I think nobody wants to go and see a property, which used to be at the classic age that, I would shortlist the properties first, even if it's for renting or selling, before I could actually invest my time, go there and, see the locality. Especially if I'm new to Bangalore or new to the cities that we are in, I would want all the information. How far is the school? How far is the market? How far, the commutable distance. So it's not the aerial distance. So we have images running. We have the, customization of requirements of customer that is running at the background. In fact, at times when I would say images, without AI, I think it was not possible. Earlier, there used to be a lot of manual data crunching of, shortlisting and rejecting a few images which were not okay to be there. Or the description. There also used to be some religiously offensive messages, since it's a C2C. So people used to just upload, I want this particular type of tenant or not. That is actually a policy violation for us. So we even scrape that. So there's a lot of things, go at the back end. In fact, 11 Labs is one of our partners. And now with Convozen being a part of No Broker, it is, I could probably say, a data heavy and AI heavy company now. And for that matter, for any company, I think without AI, there's nothing that, we can do much. We cannot scale is what we feel. We have around 3,500 hours of telephonic call center data on which we run these databases. So I could say that to 80 to 90% of accuracy we have already achieved. And I would also like to make a statement that the accuracy that we have is at 25%, and it is much better than this AWS, Google AI, and all this. We were also able to get some partners, in fact, like Tata AIG and Cast24, which are already working with us, along with 11 labs. So that way, yes, it's huge.
That's a wonderful journey. I think No Broker has been, into. I think, speaking of, apps that I download and scroll on, and one of the recent ones, because of my amazing, really, really bad financial skills, I think smallcase has been really helpful, because I think what you guys do is so genius. I mean, you demystify and decode this entire heaviness that comes from a financial investment, portfolio management kind of a zone. And you demystify it for want of a better word, idiots like me who don't know where to put the money right at the right time, right? And it's really nice to just scroll through the information that you have. And I think about half an hour of scrolling on, smallcase, I've actually learned quite a lot. So what do you think, works really, really well at smallcase for you? In terms of AI, in terms of simplifying, and how do you see potential drop-offs of customers? How do you come back with the potential drop-off customers? How do you win them back, and what's the strategy that happens, Linish?
Right. I'm happy to help you whenever you need help. So
thank you so much.
I'll
We'll
take you up on
definitely
that.
haunt you for it.
So at smallcase, more than anything, we're in the business of trust, right? This is not a one transaction end of journey. You're effectively asking people to invest their life savings for an extended and long period of time towards significant milestones in their lives. So we're in the business of trust more than anything else. That being said, we've also noticed over the course of our journey that the persona of customers have widened, have changed and evolved with various parameters that come into play. So one of the things, as the company grows and adds more products into its portfolios, we realize that you don't have that legacy information to go back and say, this is what our ideal target customer is, and hence this is what they would like. And we realize that so many customers use it for so many different kind of use cases that we possibly didn't imagine. And that's where AI really helps, because it's fantastic at pattern recognition. So whether it's a conversation with someone at support, whether it's some sort of a back-end information, you know that after a particular time, this customer is not going to be happy. And it's not just a customer is not going to be happy. It is this kind of customer is not going to be happy. This kind of customer is going to maybe say something on social media. This kind of customer may be okay with it, provided you proactively communicate. And we have this ability now to, of course, get sentiment, but up to a few years ago, sentiment was, this conversation was either positive, negative, or neutral. But now, with every message that flows in, you can see that sentiment fluctuate. And that dynamically tells you when's the time to intervene. And so that's where we believe in human-in-the-loop system. And we have very, very carefully made sure that where do we intervene, how do we intervene, and we do it with a human to enable that trust. So that, over a long period of time, customers love staying with us, and even if something were to go wrong, they always know that this will get fixed, and it's not an endless maze for me to, I'm not shouting into a void which no one's hearing about. While drop-offs is a use case, I think if you zoom out, there's so many potential things that you can do with it. Understanding customers and then tailoring experiences for them. I think that business of trust is where AI has really helped us. And I think if we're only getting started, there's more to go into. And with more rich data, more structured data, I think it'll only get better. And then I think the experiences would be different for almost everyone on the app. So for someone like you, maybe the first time would look completely different from someone who uses it on a regular basis. And that's the direction we're going towards.
That is so beautifully articulated. I think we've covered almost all of the different spectrums and varieties of emotions and emotional requests and emotional requirements that customers have in today's evening. So on a closing note, and I think we are a little off time and I'm also getting some nasty stares from that side. So I think to have a very nice, fun way to close this really, really engaging conversation, quick one word, and it's only one word. You give me one more word, I'm going to get something out of you once we leave the panel, okay? A quick one word emotion that you are really looking forward for AI to tackling next.
Support human.
That's two. But okay, I'll give you that.
Love.
Expected that from you.
Confusion.
Confusion. Oh, lovely. When you crack it, please call me, Wasim.
Yeah, it's difficult to get one word. Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you two. He's anyways taken two.
Okay, I think stop buttering humans. Yeah.
Very nice. Linish?
This is to AI. Yeah.
Sarcasm.
I think betterment or improvement.
Improvement.
I would say multitasking.
Yeah, Rahul.
I don't know. Humor, maybe? That's.
Very nice. So I think on that note, thank you so much for being such a patient audience, and we had a lot of fun preparing for this. Hope you all had a lot of fun listening to us as well. So thank you all panelists for this wonderful, wonderful discussion.